What are these people running from? They're not. They're running to the PSO2 new Genesis closed beta test. Hey ARKS, Silhouette here. As you've no doubt heard and have been eagerly awaiting yourself, and I have been too, as you can tell from this silly video I just made prior to this one, the Phantasy Star Online 2 Global New Genesis closed beta test is set to release at 6 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time tonight. And judging by my Twitter feed, people are monstrously hyped and ready for it, and it just can't come soon enough. Once it opens up, presuming the servers don't instantly crash or anything, fingers crossed, you should have around until Sunday at 7 p.m. to get your fill. Until then, however, it might behoove you to get a little acquainted with the world of New Genesis and some of the goals you might have for this closed beta. And for that, I'm your man. Without wasting any more time, let's get into it. First things first, while you're sure to have a great time exploring the world of Halpha in the closed beta, there are a few things you ought to be striving towards during the testing period. Specifically, the PSO2 team has prepared the same participation rewards that were available to JP players during the closed beta test, each of which require you to perform certain tasks in order to qualify. Altogether, these rewards total up to a grand sum of 2 each clinging Rappy earring accessories and handoff stamp featuring both versions of Ash from PSO2 Classic and PSO2 New Genesis, as well as 350 star gems. Before I get into the tasks specifically, I need you to be aware that if you primarily play on Steam or the Epic Game Store versions, you probably want to link your account to the Xbox Live and Microsoft Store versions ahead of time if you haven't done so already. Failure to do this will basically mean that you'll be unable to get these items on your account, so make sure that you get that sorted ahead of time. This is primarily being handled on the Microsoft side of things, so if it's not linked, do it. If you're already playing the Microsoft side of things, you're good to go. Alright, so with that out of the way, the goals themselves aren't particularly esoteric. Most of them are very simple, relatively achievable, provided you really sink some time into the closed beta test. In order, you are required to defeat a boss enemy Nogoleth, reach level 10 in any one class, reach a battle power of 1050, use the personal shop, use the material storage, and finally, complete the survey after the testing period ends. Breaking them down a little bit further, first up, the Nogoleth. In the closed beta test 2 on the JP servers, we fought the Nogoleth as a stand-in boss enemy on a lot of occasions. It kinda shows up during certain e-trials, during urgent quests, as a world boss, and even in some cocoons. This is just my personal guess, but I think SEGA and the PSO2 team are kind of using this as a stand-in boss for almost all situations during the closed beta test, besides some very specific monsters, to kind of keep some of the other monsters a surprise. We'll probably be seeing a lot more bosses and other stuff coming to the game once it actually releases in June, but as long as you're playing during the closed beta test for basically any length of time, you're bound to run into one of these guys, and be aware they can be a little bit chunky if your level cap is too great. So be smart and maybe do the next one first. Reaching level 10 on any class is as simple as it sounds. I'm going to provide some leveling recommendations a little later in this video if you need them, but just be diligent. Even playing several different classes to get the feel for them in the JP closed beta test 2, I managed to reach level 10 on my main class with almost no real issues over a 3-day period. I believe you can too. It's no big deal. Again, just be diligent, play the game, enjoy yourself, and you should be able to reach there. Just keep an eye on it. Much like reaching level 10, you'll also need to reach 1050 battle power for another goal, which should be relatively easy as long as you grind up your weapons and armor and level up diligently. Remember, in New Genesis, all of your character's enhancements count. This includes class levels, equipment enhancement, and potentials for both weapons and units, and even your class skills. Rappy Burst, our wonderful community site, has actually provided a little info box here that I will be putting up here on the side so you can kind of see exactly what it takes to get that much. So be aware of it and do what you can. Just make sure to check your status here and there just to be certain. Using the personal shop is self-explanatory. In JP, there were some issues affecting the player shops that kept them from working altogether, so just try to chuck something simple on it, or buy a decent weapon for one of your classes when you can to try and satisfy this requirement. It doesn't require all that much, and it's really there just to stress test the market's capabilities. Just kinda don't let it go by without you thinking about it. Same thing for the next one. You'll also want to use the material storage at least once, and this can be one of the easiest ones to miss in my opinion. During closed beta test 2, I felt like I gathered quite a lot of materials, but never ever had an issue with space in my inventory. For that reason, you'll want to be sure that you actually go to one of the terminals in Central City and manually use the material storage so that you can get these rewards. Better safe than sorry. This is one of your stamps after all, so do be sure to do it at least one time. At least one time. The last one is also easily missable. After the closed beta test, you will be provided a survey regarding your experience. Make sure to keep an eye out for this and remind yourself to follow up, as it's another whole 100 star gems and you're going to want those. If you don't, give them to me. I want them. I can't get enough of them. So with the beta rewards out of the way, let's say you're game for all of that, but you're also blown away by all of this that you really need some recommendation on where to level up and get your experience. After all, some of the game's bosses can be pretty rough at earlier levels, especially in urgent quests and emergency trials, to say nothing of world bosses. After all, if they're high up enough, you're going to be lucky enough to get 1 point of damage, and most of the time you won't even get that. Alright. I hear you. Let me give you some recommendations. Personally, I'd recommend you starting out with client orders and/or daily and weekly tasks, as these are going to give you a big chunk of experience without you having to worry about your first encounter with enemies too much. The beta will actually start you on a client order train immediately out of character creation, so follow that to its conclusion, and you should see yourself advancing rather properly. If you're aiming to level up explicitly through combat, then your best bet for early levels is probably going to be immediately in the vicinity of Central City, in Central Area, which is a nice little valley area with some passive creatures who couldn't hurt a fly, as well as a few dolls that might be flying around here or there that you can probably dispatch with ease. Be careful. If you head toward the cocoons on the western or eastern side, you might start to encounter some more dangerous enemies such as the crag bear, which will be the first real test of your abilities at low level. One more thing, while you're out exploring, make sure you activate all of these green towers that you'll see, such as Ryuker Towers. These will unlock fast travel points and allow you to teleport back and forth across the map so you don't have to sprint to the city and back each time. Trust me, that gets really old. You can also use them to change blocks if you want to meet up with friends in a specific area, and you will, because parties are awesome, and they're even awesomer in New Genesis. Once you're beyond your first few levels, you're going to want to start branching out and perform emergency trials in your local area as soon as you feel capable to handle them, especially if you're with a party of other players, which is a good idea while you're leveling, just like I mentioned. Just like in PSO2 Classic, parties provide a boost to your experience gain, so definitely consider it if you want to level up really quickly. From here, I'd move on to some other areas. I think a couple of people have recommended Southern Area as the next region, and I think that is where your client order train will eventually take you if you're following it to the letter. You might remember this as one of the more gorgeous sceneries out there. It's beautiful, lots of water, all these waterfalls. There's even a bay on the other side of this set of mountains over here that you can swim around in. It's a pretty awesome place. Or you could start trying some of these Central Area cocoons. Remember, to do your cocoons, you need those for your skill points. Once you're satisfied with the enemies in this area, you can start heading over to Mount Magnus to the east of Central City, which is a combat area with limited player counts but nearly constant emergency trials. These will carry you onwards for quite a while. This is also the first place you'll start seeing 3-star weapons and units if you're lucky, dropped on occasion from bosses in this area. Again, make sure you start running cocoons while doing so, as they're required to start getting your skill points for your class. Mount Magnus is a great location for grinding emergency trials and getting experience. Sometimes you can have literal trials falling from the sky and combining with other ones causing chaos trials, which are good for loot. You can build up your PSE burst to make rare bosses spawn and get really great loot that way. And Noglets tend to spawn periodically here as well, part of all of the above, and sometimes it's just part of an emergency trial on their own. So be sure to take advantage of that and move on to the next area after a few levels. Finally, the last area is the swamplands and mountain valleys of Northern Area. This area is another 32-player large exploration zone, allowing you to team up with other players to fight truly powerful enemies. Along with higher power enemies, this region also tends to be the region with special spawns, like the Gigantix, who is a monster in his own right. Don't take this guy on at level 1. In the center of the 3 obelisks in the Altolani Plateau, as well as the world boss, an ancient dread Nogolith, in the wooded area at the northern edge of this same area. This place is also where the urgent quests we saw occurring took place during closed beta test 2, so it's no wonder that players grind out the remaining 5 or 6 levels here. You can get here as early as level 8. I recommend maybe sticking around in Mount Magnus to 9 or 10, and then grinding out the remaining 5 here. The marshlands on the western side of Northern Area is also home to the Region Mag, which will provide the entire region with experience bonuses and a rare bonus to you if you feed it, so consider dropping by there as well. Last but not least, I want to leave you with a little something courtesy of our good friends at Rappy, again a wonderful community resource for PSO2 that has recently launched their new Genesis site. Annie of Rappy has been hard at work providing a number of maps for you to take advantage of, including maps for red and yellow containers, which are a great source of meseta and some materials, as well as gathering points, so that you can make sure to visit any nearby gathering areas you see and bust up a number of rocks as you pass. These will help you keep stocked up and allow you to take full advantage of the weapon and unit enhancement systems, as well as help you obtain the materials needed to make your own multi-weapon and unlock potentials. I'll provide a link in the description down below for your viewing, so be sure to give these maps a once-over and maybe keep them on hand once you're in-game. And with that, you're as prepared as you possibly can be for the new Genesis closed beta test later tonight. I know it's a lot to go over, but hey, I want to put everything in one place for you guys so you can rush off into the field armed with this first aid kit of knowledge that you need to get all your beta rewards, and just so you have your footing in this new world. How are you guys feeling about the closed beta test? Did you manage to get in? Are you hyped that you finally get a chance to play? Let me know down in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. If you're interested in more guides, tips, and news for Phantasy Star Online 2 going forward, give me a like on this video and consider subscribing. It would really mean the world to me. It's a huge confidence boost. I know I say that a lot, but I really appreciate it when you guys do, and I like to help out, so, you know, thanks. If you want to catch me live, I stream every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday morning, and every second Saturday night at twitch.tv Silly Games. I'll also be having a special Twitch stream later tonight as soon as the CBT goes live, and we'll be doing that then and there. We might also have some this weekend, so we'll see when that comes up. That's everything, you guys. You're all wonderful. This is Silhouette, and I'm signing off, ARKS. May you have all the rare drops. All of them!